Alrighty, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Four Train Savages podcast, episode number 233. Today is February 20th. Today is actually the first day that the Yankees will be playing their spring training game, so we'll be seeing that in about 2 or 3 hours. They'll play the Baltimore Orioles for a first spring training baseball game. That means we're closer to baseball. And today, pinch hitting for Tyler, we got Sheffield Shuffler. You guys may know of his presence on Instagram, TikTok, all the social platforms out there. Does a lot of baseball content, football content. We've had him on
OnlyFans. Yeah.
OnlyFans. We've had him on a couple years ago, but I thought it was the perfect opportunity to reconnect, dude, and talk some of this baseball activity happening right at spring training. And then also with a lot of this recent news happening with the MLB Players Association, some drama with Tony Clark, and now just some shifting things. If you guys don't follow him, go follow him on Instagram and TikTok because he has a lot. You talk a lot about this stuff. And I think it was a really good opportunity to kind of dive a little deeper into those conversations because, yes, while we are playing baseball and they're playing baseball in 2026, that looming 2027 conversation is going to be something that just happens throughout the year. So I think it's an interesting opportunity, man. How you been? It's good to have you back on. Baseball's here. Let's go, dude.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. We got baseball today. I know Cubs are playing the Sox. Yankees are playing the Orioles. We got a bunch of games. I just booked my spring training trip
Let's go.
in March. So very excited to get down to Clearwater. I'm going to see two games at Baycare, which is the Philly Stadium. And then the Saturday, I'm going to Steinbrenner Field
Oh,
where they
dope.
play the Yankees. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the best. It's the best minor league stadium in baseball. It's a beautiful stadium there. So I'm very excited. Yeah, I'm booked and ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, well, Tampa, without their stadium last year, they knew they had to go down to George Steinbrenner to play a full season there. So I
Yeah.
have to. The one thing I've been making out for, baseball trips to go see other stadiums. I have a couple planned this year, but the one thing I have to then eventually plan is a trip down to for spring training and go see Tampa. So I think it's just like such an exciting time. I know it's not real baseball, or it is real baseball, but it's just not baseball that's counted towards the standings. But I think it's just the juice of the season in this time, even though we're waiting for like March Madness and that time of, and then it crosses over into the spring training stuff. It's great to gear up and just eventually watch. And then as me and Tyler always say on this podcast, just knock on wood to get through spring training healthy and then just get through it as fast as we can so we could start games on, I believe it's like March 27th or something. So I'm
Yeah,
pumped, man.
it's always funny because like now this time of year we're talking more like drama stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like stuff off the field because it's not meaningful baseball yet. But yeah, I'm excited to get into the season and actually talk baseball as opposed to like what did Bryce Harper say? Ooh, Dave Dombrowski said this. Like it's I don't like to feed into it, but like that's all we have to talk about right now. And I just watch baseball and football. Like I don't watch basketball. I don't
Mhm.
watch hockey. So it's like those are the only two times, and there's like a month period where it's like really boring if the hot
Mhm.
stove isn't popping. So yeah, very excited to get started.
Yeah. Before we get into the topics, talk about a little updated Yankee news, a little stuff about around the league, some World Baseball Classic too, because that's coming up very shortly. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment below of what you're thinking about the current Yankees team. Also, go follow Sheffield Shuffler over on his YouTube, his Instagram, TikTok. So go subscribe and follow us there to keep up to date with all the MLB news and takes and everything like that. So. Chef, the one thing that came up, I guess, for in Yankee land that was sort of the biggest stuff outside of just, I don't know, media day stuff where they're taking pictures and, everyone's getting excited and all that, was Aaron Judge made a quote. I believe it was last Thursday, I want to say, or no, I think it was earlier this Monday. He made a quote on what it was like watching the offseason for him. And I wanted to also get just like your perspective as a non-Yankee fan, take off the Yankee lenses and take off the bias after discussing this quote and just see how you feel about this Yankees team. As even though, they did have a remote, they're running it back, but they are still one of the top teams in the American League. So we'll see what they can do. But Judge had an interesting quote where he was talking about how I guess tough it was for him watching this offseason, just like the rest of us Yankee fans, outside of signing back Bellinger, which took a long time. So Judge went ahead and said it was brutal. I see a lot of free agents out there. I see a lot of guys like Bellingers, the Grishams, the Goldschmidts, and he said, "Let's sign these guys now, right now, then start adding more pieces." I'm seeing other teams around the league get better. They're making trades. They're signing big prospects or big players, and we kind of were just sitting for a while, kind of making smaller moves. It was tough in the beginning there, but I think once we solidified getting Bellinger back, we got Trent being our center fielder, being our leadoff guy for another year. You had a guy like Goldie, some on the back end bullpen pieces that we've been doing. I think we're in a good spot. But early on, it was pretty tough to watch. I'm like, man, we're the New York Yankees. Let's go out there and get the right people, get the right pieces, and go finish this thing off. We've got a special group of players here. We've got a good core, a good core, a good young core. It was frustrating, but I think we're right where we need to be. So that did not necessarily it wasn't necessarily shocking, but for Yankee Aaron Judge is usually things that keeps his cards close to the chest and doesn't really say things like that. My initial reaction to those quotes was people were saying, "Oh, well, he's expecting them to make other moves outside of just Bellinger and running it back." I think knowing Judge and knowing how much I mean, he advocates for how good the team is, obviously because he's the star player and he thinks that this team is capable of doing winning a championship, while we may, as Yankee fans, think that there are some holes that they could have filled and done a little bit more things to bolster the team. I think that I people interpreted it as, oh, he's asking them to go above and beyond and sign a Kyle Tucker and do this and get a Bo Bichette. I didn't necessarily see it like that. I think obviously he would have liked Bellinger and then go out and get Bichette, but I think it was just coming from a sense of frustration that we have to wait to then solidify what we have for 2026, and I don't like that. That's the way that I took the quote and saw it, and I know it kind of was made big waves in New York media and made waves around baseball a little bit. But I mean, at the end of the day, they're running it back, and I think he just was like, we need to get this thing solidified so I know what we're going into the season with. And that's kind of how I took it. I don't know how you would see it as an outside Yankees perspective.
Well, I see a lot of similarities between this offseason between the Yankees and the Phillies. A guy who was on your team that you desperately needed to re-sign, Bellinger, Kyle Schwarber, right? Signed him. An aging right-handed bat, Goldie, JT Realmuto. So it's kind of and we get the same kind of thing about running it back, right? Running this team back. Oh, we're running it back. You're running back a team who had the second most wins in baseball. When I'm talking about the Phillies, so there's some similarities between there, and I understand, and I think people understand, especially Aaron Judge. There's a window of winning, right? This is the window. We can only be highly competitive for a short amount of time before money and players need to get paid and aging players and all that. Aaron Judge knows I'm not getting any younger, guys. Like
Mm-hmm.
these are my prime years. We need to build as much behind us as possible. And I think you do have to advocate for yourself, Aaron Judge. And I think honestly, a lot of these quotes get taken out of context, or not taken out, but like just extrapolated so much farther than they actually are. This is a guy who wants to win. I want
Mm-hmm.
my ring, dude. I've been playing here. I'm one of the best players, if not the best player, the best hitter in baseball. I want a ring.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I would like to add some guys behind us, in front of us, in the bullpen, and starting pitcher, whatever it is, to make that happen. This is our window. We need to
Mm-hmm.
capitalize. So I think it's just a competitive player being honest, and there was
Yeah.
nothing disrespectful about it. He was very upfront and honest. Like, yeah, we should add more players, give us our best chance to winning because we're right there knocking on the doorstep. So what's it going to take to push us forward? So I don't think, yeah, nothing disrespectful. He's just being honest. That's a competitor. That's a guy. That's what you want to hear, as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to, oh yeah, we'll see how it goes, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll take our team. So yeah, I want a dog, dude. Like if that's my best player and that's the captain of my team, I want a dog who's hungry, who
Yeah.
wants players to win. So that's kind of how I took it.
Yeah. I think the one interesting aspect of it is, like you said, he has an eagerness to win. Other than the takeaway being he just wanted his guys back and he wanted to know what was coming into the 2026 season. I do think on a level, him more outwardly speaking about it the way he did, and he was asked about it in that media session that they had for the spring training. I do think it was interesting that he would make those comments And maybe he is speaking a little bit to Brian Cashman and speaking a little bit to Aaron Boone and speaking a little bit to the organization as a whole to say, like you mentioned earlier, I'm getting a little bit older. I know I still have some prime years, some elite years, I would say, in these next couple years, but he knows that there's just as a player that there's a window for you. And he's saying, as a natural reaction, as the star player and just a guy who wants to win, sitting back and having to wait the way that he did, and we as fans are clearly irrational, but he is a player. He's saying, okay, I want to know that I have my guys back. Whether we think that they should have gone a little bit more above and beyond for other players, whether it could be a Kyle Tucker, a Bo Bichette, or a pitcher, this, that, and the third. But like, I think it was telling that Aaron Judge is also, I don't want to put it as feeling the pressure, because of course he feels the pressure as the captain of the New York Yankees, the biggest franchise arguably in sports, but he is feeling it saying, I have a window. I need to know who is on my team, and I need to know that I'm going to have a quality product, because otherwise, and this was a conversation that I was having, I know he likes Trent Grisham. We'll see how Trent can run back this year. But if that's your only takeaway, and then you're relying on a lot of these younger players outside of then bringing back Bellinger, if they didn't bring back Bellinger, I think in the minds of Aaron Judge, and at least for me as a Yankee fan, I know there's some Yankee fans that disagreed and didn't would have been okay letting Bellinger go and then running with the younger players. But Aaron Judge is saying, I need to know that I have these talented veterans and these players on this team to make sure that we can go out there and have a competitive product and compete for a championship. And I think that's the big takeaway for me, is that Judge knows that he has a window, and just like the rest of the Yankee fans that see it as a window, he wants to win, and he wants this organization to, I mean, in this case, at the bare minimum, run it back. We wish they would have done a little bit more. We know they have Ryan Weathers this year coming in, but there were some opportunities where, as I said to Tyler last episode, Chef, that the Yankees traditionally have left no doubt within their division, and they said, "Oh, is there an opportunity where we can leave no doubt that we're going to be the class of the AL East?" They used to do it, and obviously the Dodgers are doing it to a different level now, but they used to do certain things, but now they're a little bit more complacent that we've seen them. I'm glad they brought back Bellinger, but Aaron Judge wants to know that they're going to go above and beyond to bring a product that's going to compete for a championship, and that was a slight level of, maybe you want to call it frustration or just being honest with the media, and I think there's nothing wrong with it.
No, I hate PC boring answers. I think most fans do. So a player that's being honest, but what more do you want? He's being honest. I want dogs. I want guys here early. Let's set this up. Let's go at it. And there is a point too, Rob, where when you say, "Oh, we're running it back," a lot of teams get that. Dude, you have one of the most expensive payrolls. You have talented players. At some point, the players got to perform, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
what were you talking about? Oh, we're running this back. This is a very good squad. So the players need to play to their full capacity, and we have a chance at winning it, right? You're gonna get a season of Garrett Cole, hopefully with no injuries, right? That's another addition that you didn't really have last
Yeah.
season. So I appreciate players being honest. That's why, I mean, I liked Nick Castellanos. He was being honest, dude.
Yeah.
I don't like the PC boring answers.
Beers in the dugout, or beers in the
Yeah,
clubhouse. Yeah.
dude, it's competitive, dude. It's alpha male dogs that want to win. So
Hmm.
yeah, and he was very respectful. There's nothing wrong with what he said. And as the face of baseball, honestly, like Aaron Judge is one of the biggest faces in baseball. Like, it's cool to have a little bit of an edge. And I don't
Yeah.
even think what he said was edgy, but
No,
yeah.
I had no problem with it, and I would not be opposed to Aaron Judge speaking more candidly throughout his later years in this contract, and he wants to win, and that's the name of the game.
It's Captain America,
It's Captain
right?
America. Speaking of Captain America, Bryce Harper recently, your guy for the Phils, recently was speaking about with the media, talking about how he having Aaron Judge hit behind me is going to be a lot of fun in the World Baseball Classic. Uh, Kind of wanted to get your 2 cents on the World Baseball Classic, and just I think it's going to be really fun to watch in a couple weeks, or actually only 2 weeks. I think the first couple games are on
Beginning of
like
March,
March
might be
3rd
March
or
4th.
something, I think,
Yeah.
and specifically Team USA is in the pool B with Mexico, Italy, Great Britain, and Brazil. So it'd actually be really funny because Jazz Chisholm is on Great Britain. I think it would be funny if we saw some of the Yankees from Team USA go against Jazz against Great Britain. Jorge Posada is actually a coach for Team Italy. But what we had this conversation last week about World Baseball Classic. Do you get juiced up for the World Baseball Classic? Do you have any issue with like your players from your teams playing on the World Baseball Classic stage? I have no problem with it. It's literally an MLB powered event. I have no issue with it. I get very excited to watch the games be played and this happens. So, and I think it's going to be just for fan service to watch, as I said, watch an Aaron Judge and a Bryce Harper in the same lineup, watch a Paul Skeens and a Tarek Skubal be back-to-back aces in that staff. I think it's going to be really cool. And then you look at other teams like Team DR, who's stacked. You look at Team Puerto Rico, all these other stars playing around. I think it's just really great for baseball. And to kick off the season, I just think it's awesome. So I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, there's only a couple opportunities or a couple times every few years where you have the opportunity to grow the game of baseball on a global level, right? And it's when countries are involved. I don't watch hockey, but when hockey plays Canada
You're going to
in,
watch.
whatever I'm watching, because
Yeah.
it's my country. So it's country versus country, which brings in casual fans, which brings in other eyeballs that say, like, oh, hey, this guy has an awesome game. Oh, man, maybe I'm going to watch him next time I see him or whatever. And like you said, just a powerhouse of the best talented teams or the best talented players in baseball playing for USA, playing for DR,
Mhm.
um, playing for Mexico. Like that is just a great opportunity to grow the game, to get eyeballs on it. And you don't even have to be a huge baseball fan. You could just, oh, I know Aaron Judge, like go USA. Oh, I know Bryce Harper. Like that gets people into it. And
Mhm.
the environment around the World Baseball Classic is very much like it is in other countries, which I think needs to be brought here to the United States, is how exciting the environment is. It's like a playoff atmosphere every game. They have cheerleaders, they got the vuvuzelas.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the Marlins allow all those musical instruments in their stadium because I think that should be infused more into baseball. So I'm very excited for it. I don't care about the risk. I think it's a true not a pleasure, but an honor to represent your country, to wear the
Mhm.
USA across your chest and play for your country, and saying this is America's sport and we are the best and we're going to show it to you right now. And
Yeah.
there's a huge revenge story. Losing to Japan
Yeah.
with the Trout and the Otani. Like there's a awesome revenge story that could possibly be, another matchup that we see again. Which is, the Dodgers have a ton of pitchers there. So needless to say, I'm very excited for the World Baseball Classic. It's great for the game, and it's just high quality baseball. Who doesn't want to watch that?
Yeah, for sure. And I think I made this point last podcast too with Tyler was that uh, traditional baseball fans are fans that really don't really care too much about the World Baseball Classic and aren't as invested. And when they hear players wanting to play from their favorite team, I want to say it was Edwin Diaz or someone from the last World Baseball Classic in 23. They made the mention that, hey, winning this World Baseball Classic is arguably more important to me than winning a World Series. Now, to us, or to some fans, that's like, what the hell are you talking about? However, as you mentioned, national pride is a big thing. Like these Hispanic players, these players from Japan, they love one. They've grown up playing with these other guys that they're playing with. Like they have played on these national teams for a long time with these players, so they have a deep relationship with each other, and they have grown up playing with each other, and they're wearing their flag on their chest and the name across their chest, and they got their name on the back. Like that's a big deal to people, and just same way that we would have it for Team USA. And when these players decide to participate, I made the mention that it hopefully isn't someone that has injury history. I cited like Tyler Glasnow said someone asked him, "Oh, would you want to play in the World Baseball Classic?" He goes, "I'd love to play in the World Baseball Classic, but I can't stay healthy, so I wouldn't put my team in that position." That's a separate issue, and that's totally fine. But for these guys that can stay healthy and on the field, that want to represent their country and go compete for their country, it's just something that maybe you don't like, but you just got to understand. You say, okay, it's just what's going to happen. So that's the way I
I,
look
I
at it.
don't understand how you could be a baseball fan and not enjoy the World Baseball
Yeah.
Classic. It is like an all-star game with, much
That they
higher
actually
competition
play.
level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That means something. So, I mean, having just all those guys on the same team, just looking at it, and I'll be honest, dude, I think this is one of the best USA teams that they've compiled over the last,
I think it's better than the
nine
last
years.
one. I think it's better than the last
100%.
one. Yeah.
Especially starting pitching. I mean, you got the two best starting pitchers on the planet
Hmm.
going 1-2, like nasty stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't see any downside to it. And if you want to talk about Edwin Diaz, he injured himself after playing when they were
Yeah.
celebrating.
Yeah.
Nothing happened
Yeah.
that didn't happen during the game. He didn't get a ball off the ankle. That was a celebration that got a little bit too much out of hand. So that's completely different.
Hmm. Okay, some other little just kind of notes to go through on the Yankees side of things, and then we'll get into talking about just the MLBPA and the Tony Clark stuff, Bruce Meyer becoming the new executive director, and then we also got to talk some MLB bets that just like win totals and things like that of who we see winning divisions and everything there. Cam Schlittler actually threw off a mound earlier this week. This was coming off of a little bit of a tweak in his back from the prior week, so it's good that there was a report that came out that Cam Schlittler tweaked his back. That has people a little, or Yankee fans a little scared there, and we're coming off thinking of the last spring training when Garrett Cole gets shut down for the season. And as I said at the top of the show, knock on wood that we just get through this spring training unscathed and just get through with no injuries. And Cam Schlittler is going to be a big part of this starting staff, so we need him to be healthy. And it was good that he was feeling better throwing off a mound this week. Other news. Ryan McMahon will be taking reps at shortstop during spring to keep him ready as the backup shortstop. Now, Chef, I want to ask you. This is kind of a bigger conversation. As an outsider looking in, what did you make of just Anthony Volpe and just the shortstop position and the way that the Yankees handled that thing? Because it kind of coincides with the Ryan McMahon conversation. I would just like to get a non-Yankee fan's opinion on
I mean,
Anthony
would you
Volpe.
agree that he was given as much slack as humanly possible?
100%.
Uh, I mean, given every opportunity to prove yourself, to stick with him when he was not doing well at all.
Mhm.
So I just think you showed me everything I need to see. I've given you, I didn't cut you short. I gave you every opportunity to show us who you are, and I think we know. I think if Anthony Volpe wasn't from, I mean, I've seen that
Jersey.
that tweet. If he wasn't from Jersey, if he didn't have that picture with Jeter, I don't think the story is as cute and warm and fuzzy as I don't think he would have gotten that slack. So, dude, yeah, if you're not performing, if you're bad defensively, like can't have it.
Mhm.
So he was given every opportunity in my eyes. Whatever moves forward, like you said, McMahon's taking looks at short. I don't know how that would look.
Well, we
You
got
tell me.
Caballero. Caballero playing is going to start the year, but there was also the report that Volpe is not ruling out an April return. But I mean, I've talked about this ad nauseum that I want Caballero to get an opportunity because in ways that Anthony Volpe, I mean, I think it was a tad bit of a gifted Gold Glove, and I don't like the conversation when the Yankees bring it up as just a reason for why him being a good defender. But his defense last year fell off a cliff, and it went along with his bad, just plain below average offensive abilities. And so when you pair that when you pair those two together, and I would like to see Jose Caballero, and I know he's not going to take the world on fire, but I'd like to see a player that can be in the lineup be at that position that can impact the game in different ways. And Jose Caballero is a guy that has really tremendous speed on the bases, and I think it's just a different look that I'd like to see start the year. And now hearing the McMahon stuff to me isn't too big of a deal. I think it's just funny that they're deciding to play yet another player out of position that drives us nuts. So that's one thing. But hearing that Volpe is potentially looking at an April return irks me a smidge, but I think that it should be a situation, and this goes for just sports, this goes for work, this goes for just life. If there's someone that can do your job better and give you competition, and as you said, he's been handed a lot of these opportunities, and you need to see what Jose Caballero can do, or at least then explore other avenues, because what Anthony Volpe has done for the past 3 years is not cutting it. So that's just the situation moving into the year, and I tying it back to the McMahon stuff, it's just I think they want to give themselves a little bit of flexibility for what can then happen. If a guy goes down or an injury happens and whatever may shake out to start the year, because we know that early year baseball and it's 162 games, so it's a lot to go through, and that's just the way I look at it. But and I can appreciate you as an outsider looking at, because that's what I think. I think a lot of Yankee fans get caught up with he met Jeter, he's from Jersey, he's one of us, this that, he's Italian, this that, and
Yeah.
it's he's not performing the way he needs to. And a lot of Yankee fans this past year are catching up to that. And I think now it's more of a consensus than it's ever been. So
Does
that's
Caballero, can he play into a starting role if he
um
performs well when
so
like
I
Volpe
really
comes
I mean
back?
if you're looking at his career, he's not a guy that's going to, as I said, take the world on fire. He's a career 88 OPS plus, a career 657 OPS. So as I said, he's not going to be this monstrous hitter that the Yankees need. He was still a 2.7 WAR player in 2025, and his WAR in just his time with the Yankees was higher than Anthony Volpe's full year with the Yankees. So this is just, I think for a lot of us, it's Anthony Volpe needs someone on his heel, like needs to have someone that keeps him on his heels and gives him competition, because they plain and simply were not doing it. They didn't do it with Oswald Peraza. They shipped him to the Angels. They didn't even give him ample time to just add in some competition. And this is a guy who's been on a couple different teams, been with Seattle, been with Tampa Bay. We know, I mean, last year he had 49 stolen bases. I mean, he's got speed. He has an aspect of his game that can potentially benefit the Yankees. And it's just like we need to see him hold Volpe's feet to the fire. And that's what I think the takeaway is. So I mean, he's not.
Okay.
I would like that. I would like them to go out and make a move for a shortstop. When I heard Corey Seager trade rumors, that was interesting to me. Obviously, that's an aging contract, but we should have done it years ago instead of putting all of our chips on a young prospect that we don't know anything of. But you'll get me into a big tirade there, Chef. You'll get me into a
Yeah, but
big.
no, that's I mean, not to get off point here, but I mean the Phillies are looking at starting a rookie in center field,
Yeah.
right?
No. Yeah. Talk about it.
Justin Crawford. So, everybody you want to be high and excited for it, but can you really go into this season and expect a rookie not to struggle? And then what's that going to look like? So, when you're starting a rookie, it doesn't. I'm not as excited as some people are. So, oh, he's lighting up AAA and stole 38 bases and blah blah. That's great, but that's this is the bigs, and the curveballs are going to look a lot better. The sliders look different. So you got to expect them to struggle. It's what
Yeah.
happens after that and how you're making adjustments daily, weekly, monthly. So yeah, to your point again, like the expectations for a rookie coming in, like you got to expect them to struggle at some point.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I wanted a Bellinger back, and you want to have players within Aaron Judge's prime that have a proven ability, whereas an Anthony Volpe doesn't have to this point doesn't have a proven ability that is going to get you to where you need to be. Austin Wells, we'd like to see more from him this year, but he had a disappointing 2025. And that's why I say when you hear prospects and this, that, and the third, and I mean, there were rumors that they're saying George Lombard, the big shortstop prospect for them, and they're saying he's untouchable. Why is he untouchable? Why is he untouchable?
Yeah,
Why? Why are we saying this
unproven
about prospects?
commodities.
The unproven commodities that I think that and I get it for some of these can't miss guys. Guess who also was can't miss? Jason Dominguez doesn't look so can't miss at this point. So there needs to be a level of like humble pie that we temper the expectations with young players, and especially when you're trying to win within a window. And similar to what the Phillies are doing, they got a lot of these guys who are starting to age a little bit, and there's a championship window, and then fans are going to be wary if they're saying we're going to bank on young players, and you go, oh, could you
Right.
have
Yeah.
gone out and gotten a
Infusing youth.
Bichette or this, that? Yeah. So
Yeah, there's a balance between infusing youth and yeah, having a veteran roster. But that's the thing, dude. When that window is open, like I want I want proven commodities. That's how I look at prospects. Everyone's like, "Oh, we can't trade Painter. We can't trade." It's just like, why not? Why not? They're
Hmm.
unproven commodities. I can get a return of a proven commodity and know what I can expect, as opposed to somebody who was injured or couldn't figure it out in AAA.
Hmm.
And everybody now, Rob, is a generational talent. You got 11-year-olds getting signed by the Phillies. Like, what are we doing, dude? 11 years old, kid hasn't even hit puberty yet. And you're giving him millions of dollars. That's ridiculous. So I'm not big on prospects. That's great if they perform, but a lot of these prospects, dude, are nobodies that turn out to be phenomenal players. So I'm and everybody likes to have the clicks and all that stuff. So everyone's a generational talent, can't miss. And most of the time, it doesn't work out. Most of the time, it doesn't work out. So
Hmm.
let's get a good return for what we have right now. And you've seen that a lot. Like remember with the Cubs in 2016, they traded Gleyber Torres and they got Chapman for him. The Eloy Jimenez, they gave him to the White Sox. So like they're got to trade this to get a proven closer. We need someone who can close ninth inning down, and it paid off. So
Hmm.
that's how my theory on it.
Okay. I agree. I agree. And one thing before, interesting to, I want to get your take on this because this was a quote that was out this week before we talk about the Tony Clark stuff. So, Jazz Chisholm Jr., I don't know if you heard a few weeks ago, he was talking about a 40-40 club. And he was talking, I believe it was to Chris Kirschner of The Athletic, who covers the Yankees for them. Uh, he was asked about producing a 50-50 season. He said, "You're looking at the second one behind Shohei Ohtani." We know Jazz likes to talk, and we know that Jazz likes to, uh, how do I say this? I think he likes to really
Stay in the
speak things into
spotlight.
existence. He wants to, and he exudes confidence, and clearly it worked to his favor last year. And we've heard just the World Series talk every time before he's gotten into the postseason. But you put any stock in a 50-50 season for Jazz Chisholm Jr.?
Zero, dude. Zero stock in it. I don't hate what he says because again, the mentality, the vision, all that kind of what do you call it when you visualization. Like I'm a big believer in that. Like I do believe
Hmm.
in visualization and bringing things to life through your thoughts. Your thoughts become actions, your actions become habits, your habits become who you are. So I'm okay with that. Do I believe it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He's going to need 3 torpedo bats if that's going to happen. But I don't mind what he said. Like, yeah, he's got confidence. He's a confident, flashy, cocky guy, and I think that's good for the game. So I have
Yeah,
no issue with him saying it.
yeah, for sure. All right, let's move into this Tony Clark stuff. So, oh wow, it's a lot. So Tony Clark, I think it was Monday or maybe it was Friday. He was basically told to resign in as MLBPA executive director, over a controversy of having an affair with his sister-in-law. There was also, to not just put it on solely on that, there was also a lot of other shady stuff potentially happening with, I think it was a I'm trying to
Siphoning
pull.
money from the
Yeah,
players
yeah. Do
union.
you? I think you know a little bit more on the topic. Like what exactly went into it?
Yeah, my understanding is like pretty much the siphoning of money from the players union. Um, I don't remember where the money went. I read the article, but basically misappropriations of funds, fraud, I guess.
Hmm.
So that's the general overview of the first initial report that we thought that's why this was happening.
Hmm. And so now who steps in, and keep in mind this is 10 months out before we see this 2027 work stoppage that is more than likely going to happen. Bruce Meyer is now elected the MLBPA executive director, and not to say that Bruce Meyer, I don't think Bruce Meyer is going to be any less aggressive in comparison to Tony Clark, but I will admit that following what happened in the COVID year with the negotiations, I was a little happy to say that Tony Clark will no longer be that executive director. But I think it morphs into the conversation of then how will that impact the negotiations, and how will that impact us, the fans, who may end up getting screwed out of baseball in 2020, or a portion of baseball in 2027, or it could be a full season of baseball. I don't necessarily buy into the full season, but I think there probably will be a work stoppage. But what do you make of, like, and I know you have a lot of takes on just like how they're aggressive. There's reports that they're going to be the owners are going to be really aggressive and looking to push that salary cap, and then they're going to also probably push a floor. How is that going to really work out? So I wanted to kind of get your take on what's. I know it's down the road. I know it's at the end of the year, and hope we have a season of baseball to play. But what do you make of just like what's about to happen with this now with the fallout of Tony Clark leaving?
Well, first I wanted to say, Rob, am I crazy in a world with Epstein files and conspiracy theories that the union representative for the players got into, I mean, sleeping with his sister-in-law? Do you think that is a bizarre timing that the last season before we go into negotiations, there's this big scandal and he has to step down from his position? And I'm not saying there was like some kind of conspiracy, but I just thought it was like weird timing and
Yeah,
the
no,
stuff that the
I,
stuff that happens now, dude, is not crazy. Like, oh, there
mhm.
was a plant and she seduced him and they were drunk and there were photos taken. Like, that's not out of the realm of possibilities in our world now. Like, everything is open. I just thought, I was like, a huge scandal right before to take out the union member that represents the players. I was like, damn, there might be something fishy going on
It-
or set
it's
up or
baseball,
something.
man. They've had decades of fishy activity. That's I don't think it's necessarily crazy to question.
Yeah. And obviously the players, as much as they say they're absolutely not going to do a cap, they don't want it. It's going to limit their wages, and I'm all for players, dude. I'm for players. Make your money. I'm never going to tell somebody you can only make X. I think the biggest problem is the teams that aren't spending. I think the
Hmm.
revenue share. If you're getting a share of revenue, that's entire point of it is to close the competitive gap. That is the reason revenue share exists, to close the revenue gap. Your team, the Yankees, my team, the Phillies, pays more money than they receive. They pay more money into this revenue sharing, and the smaller market teams take more money than they produce. And
Hmm.
then what? You're going to put it in your pockets. You're not going to reinvest into your team. That's not right. The whole point is to close the competitive gap. You're never going to get as rich as the Dodgers, as rich as the Yankees.
Hmm.
There are teams who are superior. They just have a bigger bank. The whole
Hmm.
point is to close the gap, right?
Yep.
Because there's parity in baseball and you can play your best baseball in October. We saw the Rangers win a World Series against the Diamondbacks a few years ago. Two teams that were, in the wild card. So there is the opportunity to close the gap, but you have to spend the money that you are given in revenue share. So as much as they say they don't want to cap, I think the floor is far more important, in my opinion, because
Yeah.
you could limit how much rich teams can spend, but you're doing nothing for the bottom of the barrel. You're not forcing them to spend any money.
Yeah.
I don't think that's fair. I don't think that fixes the situation. So I think the deferred money is going to be one of the biggest issues as well.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
really have a strong opinion on it. My understanding is when you defer money, you are taking on a debt which lowers the value of your franchise. If you have no intention of selling your franchise, then what does it matter? It doesn't matter if you're going into debt. They're taking that money, they're putting it in a Roth IRA or whatever, and getting interest on it anyway. So I really don't have too much of a problem with the deferred money because every team can do it. They're operating within the constraints of the rules. I think that's going to be one of the biggest issues. The entire contract has to be paid out within the duration of the contract. I think that's probably one of the biggest issues that they'll be looking at. And then cap and floor. Um, I think there'll be some kind of negotiation with both. I think
Hmm.
that's going to be the best way to make both sides happy. As much as the players are going to hold out on that cap, I think there's going to have to be, if it's a tiered system or something like that, X amount of money, blah blah blah, years of service. There's a ton of stipulations, but that would be my
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, and I think there was also a report yesterday that came out from John Heyman that with the lockout looming, sources of teams have assembled a 2 billion plus war chest and the players have a big one too, to kind of gear up for this potential work stoppage. So that tells you that they're preparing for some feisty some feisty negotiations. I totally agree with you when it comes to having a salary floor. I think that and it's we're not at because at the end of the day, the draw that the Dodgers, the draw that the Yankees, the draw that the Phillies, the draw that maybe the Cubs, they live in certain areas that just when you compare it to these other teams and lesser teams, they're just not going to. It's not. it's not comparable. It's not going to happen. Like to ask them to have a $300 million payroll or even over 250 is just it's probably not going to happen because the juice isn't worth the squeeze in their area. And I totally understand that. But I think what it comes back to is like you said, get it to a level and get it to something that is then holding their feet to the fire and having them spend a little bit more when it's just better for the sport and better for the players. But when it also the thing that I think if this report is true that the owners are really going to be trying for that cap, I think that we're probably in in store for maybe some missed time because I really struggle with thinking that that baseball can be a capped sport, and I don't think the players are ever going to go for it. But that's my 2 cents. That's my 2 cents for it, and I think that if that is something that they're really trying to hold firm on and then they say, well, if you want that salary floor, we need to institute a salary cap. I think it's going to be a tough battle, but we're gonna find out as it goes to the deferred payments. That I think is going to be something extremely talked about a lot. I am someone I don't want to say because I think it's something in the Otani situation really amplified that to a huge level, different level. And now I think recently it was Blake Snell who had another deferral. I think Kyle Tucker probably had. I don't know. Kyle Tucker had any deferred money in that contract. So,
Yeah,
and
but
the Dodgers
we can agree that Otani should be in a separate conversation and not lumped in with everybody else. We agree with that
in the sense,
because with the deferred money and the
yeah,
fact that Otani is a international brand. He's
yeah,
a global brand that brings in multiple
hmm
countries to watch him. So I just don't want to use him as a poster child for
hmm
deferred money, at least in my eyes, because
okay.
he is so unique. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think I do think it's a slippery slope. And I understand when people say and it really comes down to a two-way negotiation. When people say, "Oh, like teams can also be doing this." It Otani was a special case because he was willing to do that. He knew that he was an international brand and could extend himself down the line. And then that opens the door for other players saying, "Oh, well, the competitive like they have this ability to pay me and then I can take some money down the road." I just think it is a special situation where you have to get both parties on board when and when it comes to the deferred payments for both the players and the owners and the teams. And I am someone that says I like to have the contract paid out within the time of when the contract should be. If you want to have a little bit of money that is deferred down the road, I don't mind it, but I do think it comes down to a slippery slope at that's my take of like if you're allowing a player to have a contract, and I know you said Otani is a special situation, but if there is the room to be made, or if there's room where you can sign a guy for 10 years, but the contract doesn't happen until 2040, I don't know about that. That to me is just I think there needs to be some give and take there. I am a proponent of paying the contract within the time that the player is there. That's just me. So
Mhm.
I think that's going to be a topic of conversation, and I think there's a reason why we haven't seen it as much. Like when people say we haven't seen that deferred payments as much before, it's because probably players want to get paid within their time frame, and they're probably not as willing to then take that. They want to be paid within the time, and
I would
maybe.
argue the inverse. I would argue that that money that they are spreading out over the years, like look at a Chris Davis. Chris Davis is still making millions of dollars right now because sports is unpredictable, right? You could get injured, you could get a degenerative disc disease that Chris
Mhm,
Bryant has, and it's like, well, I want to make sure over the next 12 years of my life, I'm getting millions of dollars every year. I don't need 32 million up front. I would like it spread across, and I'm sure taxes and all this money getting taken out. It's very calculated in after they're done playing. I move to Florida, and Florida has better tax breaks for athletes, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like stuff
mhm,
that's out of our realm of thinking about. That's how I would look at it. Like the Bobby Bonilla's, he's still getting paid a
mhm.
million every July. So I do think some players might like that because it's like I'm getting that spread over my lifetime as opposed to all this money
Yeah.
up front.
I just think it's now becoming far more commonplace, so I think we need a just structured
Parameters.
rules around it. Yes, structured standards, rules around it now that it's becoming commonplace. And I don't have like at the end of the day, like if people want to defer money, I totally get it, but I think there has to be rules and regulations to then know to which level we can do that. I think is
Mhm.
important, and I think that's going to be one of the big things within these negotiations. So, uh,
In my opinion, Rob, I think the bigger problem just me is the teams that aren't spending
yeah.
and but like you said, putting their feet to a fire and then rewarding those teams who do have a smaller payroll that do produce the Brewers,
Mhm.
the Rays, these smaller markets who make the postseason consistently year after year and put a quality product on the field, give them a higher percentage of the revenue share because they did produce, they
Mhm.
did draft, they made a great culture there. They were bringing in money, so I think there are creative ways to get everybody
Mhm.
because otherwise, we're just talking about, the top 7 teams, right? Oh,
Mhm.
he's going to defer this, he's going to defer that, and there's where all the competitiveness is. But we have, 23 other teams that have a lot of a problem with
Mhm.
spending. That's just my thought.
No, I get you. I totally agree with that. I think there. It's above my pay grade, but I think that there's going to be changes made, and do you is your prediction that we're going to miss how do you think there's going to be missed baseball and or do you think they're going to play a full 162?
My heart says yes, they're going to miss baseball, but bro, the CBA is up what, like December 2nd?
Hmm.
December 2nd. It's like every day, guys. Like we got to be in there working because who is going to miss out from that? We are, and the players. We're
Hmm.
going to miss out time from prime Aaron Judge, prime Otani. Like these are historic players,
Hmm.
historic Rob, not
Yeah.
just the best. Like Aaron Judge is going to be a historic baseball, a Yankee.
Yeah.
Otani, like we can't afford to miss out on this. Baseball can't afford to miss out on time from them.
Yeah.
So and it's all comes down to the money, right? How
Yeah.
much, they say they got that bank to 2 billion or whatever. That shit's gonna run out
Hmm.
eventually. So I don't want to, Rob, honestly, because like I said, those months after football is done to baseball are so slow. And if it
Yeah.
drags out any further, like we make baseball content, dude. I need baseball. I need
Yeah.
it. I
We
need to
all need
talk
it.
about it.
We need it,
Yeah.
man. Okay, before we move into some MLB bets and some futures and some MVP odds, some World Series odds, and just talk about that as a whole and kind of have like a more overarching league conversation. John Carlos Stanton also was asked about just where his career is at, and he said his career is definitely incomplete without a championship, and the point of being a Yankee is being a champion. Uh, I I mean that's service to us fans. We love that. We love those comments. Maybe the Brian Cashman and the people above him don't necessarily see that anymore, but that's a conversation for another day. But I was just curious about you as an outsider looking in. Uh, do you think Giancarlo Stanton, if he makes hits 500 home runs, do you think he's a Hall of Famer?
I don't look at him as a Hall of Famer. I think the Hall of Fame is a joke. Honestly, I think the Hall of Fame is a joke. That's an entire different podcast. So if he does get in, cool. If he doesn't, I don't think he belongs in the Hall of Fame, in my humble opinion, whatever that is worth.
Hmm.
But I think the Hall has become a joke.
Hmm.
And if you're going to ask me if he deserves it, I would say no.
Okay. So I think I don't disagree with you that the MLB Hall of Fame or the Baseball Hall of Fame is not an issue and they have problems because I think there's probably going to be a day where they put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame just because he just recently passed away this past year.
Mm.
And I think that's an issue. As it comes to Stanton, I think the conversation then starts when he hits the 500 home runs. I think that I get why people say because when you look at the totality of his numbers, he's got a career 874 OPS, 137 OPS plus. Uh,
Is this including Mike Stanton?
Yes, this is including Mike Stanton. He's got
Okay.
1,600 hits, so not even at the 2,000 mark. You'd think potentially with a couple more years, maybe he can get up to the 2,000 hit mark. So when it comes down to like the bare bone numbers, I get why people would have that argument. And if he does, and he as of now, he's 47 home runs away from the 500 mark. I think his biggest
How many?
argument,
47?
yeah, I think his biggest
Oh,
argument,
wow.
I think his biggest argument, and the thing that could be in his favor is he is undoubtedly in the last decade one of the premier power bats in the sport and has been. And when you look at like the totality of and history of the game, especially barring anything we don't know, especially knowing coming off the heels of the steroid era, which I'm just going to tell you now, I am in favor. Like, I want to get the steroid guys in the Hall of Fame. I have no issue with that. But when you look at his ability as a premier power hitter for a decade plus, and we know he missed time, and that's probably the thing of the injury and being more brittle than other players. But I do think that's probably his argument. If he hits 500 home runs, if he wins an or he has his MVP, if he and he's a guy that has been a power hitter for a long time, I could see why he would get in. But then also at the same time, I'm not going to discourage others for saying he's not a Hall of Famer. That's kind of the way I look at it. And then I think him, I mean, I would love it because I'm a Yankee fan. If they win a World Series, that's another thing on his resume. And like also too, if you want to add in the postseason heroics, that's another thing to be talked about. But I was just coming off that quote, I was just curious what you would think as a non Yankee fan, but maybe that's just my biased lenses being on.
Yeah, I just have cared my how much I care about the Hall of Fame has dramatically dropped over the last
Okay.
5, 10 years. As far
Talk
as like
about the
looking at,
football Hall of Fame with Belichick not getting in and all that stuff. I think it's all
yeah,
Hall of
yeah,
Fames.
I think that's another podcast in itself. It's just about who's in charge. Rob, if it's up to me, it's players, managers, and people in the game that should vote. These
Hmm.
writers, O'Shaughnessy, that nerd, and all these other guys who have gripes with players because they weren't nice to me in the dugout and when I'm in the media because I asked them a stupid question. Let the players and the managers vote. I think they're in the game. They know better than anybody. They
Hmm.
have very little bias they can put aside and say, hey, like, yeah, this guy balled out. He did it the right way. His numbers prove it, whatever. I would say let the players vote. I'm not big on the baseball writers. I can't stand them, if we're just being honest.
Fair enough, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Stanton, great dude. What didn't he? What was that? He won a MVP for the ALCS, right? That's another like,
Yeah, ALCS 2024, and then he
yeah,
also had his MVP with the Marlins. I would
yeah.
be.
I mean,
I think it was funny when people were talking about which cap he would wear going into the hall. I'm just
oh
like,
my
we're a
God,
ways away
like,
because when you look at the rest of the numbers and how he impacts the game, it really is it is unfortunate that he gets hurt as much as he did because I don't think people give him enough credit as a defender before when he was playing in Miami. And then also, like, he holds his own. He's not a gold glover by any stretch, but I think he holds his own in the outfield. And the it's the hand he's been dealt when being such a, I don't know, ripped dude that he's just tearing hamstrings and doing all this. It's very unfortunate. Now he's got the tennis elbows that are hopefully good. They said that coming in the spring, but I think it's unfortunate. I could see it go either way. Is kind of the way that I look at it. If he hits five, I mean, the conversation starts if he hits 500 home runs because that's sort of that's the thing that's the hat that needs to drop to really
mm.
have that facilitated. At least that, and maybe Perrin if they win the World Series by the time he's in. But I mean, he's only got I think 3 or 4 more years on that contract, so we'll see. We'll
Do you
see. He's
have
got to
his
stay
stats up?
healthy. Hmm? Yeah.
Do you have his stats up? I'm just curious at his career stolen bases. Just curious
Let's see. Let's see. Let's
if
see.
it made it to double digits.
Yes, it did. It is in his 16 years, which is crazy to think. He has a total of 42 stolen bases.
All right, 42, 50 and 500. That's the goal.
But I just think it comes down if he's looked at as a premier, uh, coming off the post steroid era, being one of the best power bats. But I can get why people would be like, nah, I don't know if I get the debate. That's all I'm saying. I get the debate.
How is he received in New York by the
Oh,
media?
uh,
Is he beloved?
For a while, he was a lot of shit was talked, and I'm on the pro Stanton, you know, side of things because I think, and other than I can't defend him about the injuries, I admit that, but I think that I would have liked back in the day. I guess this is another podcast too of I wish they signed Bryce Harper and also traded for Giancarlo Stanton because they're the goddamn Yankees. But when it
Mhm.
comes to the media, for a while following like 2018, 2020, 2021, those seasons to begin in like the regular season when he wasn't playing as much as they'd want him to, there's a lot of shit being talked in the media. But then he shut them up a little bit in the 21 postseason or 2020 postseason and the COVID year. And then he was the only guy who performed in that wild card game against the single wild card game against the Red Sox. And then 2022, he performed pretty well in the postseason. And then like 2024, it's one of the greatest. I'm sad that they lost, but I mean, that was objectively one of the greatest postseason individual performances that you will ever see in the history of baseball. Like I
Yeah.
just think it was every time he got up to the plate, he hit a home run. It was in the biggest moments too. So I mean that can also be an argument, but I think people have largely shut up about it because he performed in the postseason, but they may tie it back to, oh well, we should have still signed Harper or signed Machado instead of trading for him, and that's kind of the way they do it.
I personally hold postseason stats to a higher regard, I
Mm-hmm.
think, than some people. When you talk about careers and stuff like that, what you do in the postseason matters to
Yep.
me. That
Yep.
matters a lot to me
Mm-hmm.
of how well you perform on the biggest stage when the lights are brightest. I think that says a lot about a player. And I just hold a lot of regard to that. So if you perform in the postseason when it matters the most, that means a lot to me.
Yeah. Career stats for Stanton in the postseason: 926 OPS, 254 batting average, 44 RBIs, 18 home runs. So that brother can hit the ball when it's October.
Mhm.
Last year was not good in the postseason; only had was disappointing. So hopefully we just got to get him to October, and then hopefully he can reverse it and give us a little deja vu from
He's got to be
24.
on the list for I mean maybe like five, six, seven for most home runs in the postseason, right? Because
I know he's like
Altuve's
third in Yankee history behind Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. I'm pretty sure, or maybe Judge and him go back and forth for third, but yeah, he's up there.
yeah.
That's interesting. Now I kind of want to see. Okay, let's talk lastly, and then we'll get out of here. Um, I wanted to talk about some of the MLB bets, and I know you're what is it, Chef Bets? I wanted to know if you
Yeah.
had any. So just overall, maybe did you have any opinions on like the World Series stuff? And then we could talk like MVP odds. What are you thinking for that? Like what do you make of like the World Series odds currently? Because I think for most of the books they have, let's see, Dodgers clearly as an average or plus 350 with averaging out most of the major sports books. And then the Yankees are at plus 750, which a lot of people are questioning. And then following behind them, it's I think the Seattle Mariners at plus 1200, the New York Mets at plus 1400. So what do you make of like some of the World Series odds for these teams?
Yeah, it's just so early to tell to like give an
Hmm.
accurate. Obviously, Dodgers are front runners. We know the highest payrolls in baseball are the guys who were there the past few seasons are going to have some of the better odds for that. Um, I don't. I if I were to put money on the Dodgers versus the field, I'd put the money on the field. Obviously, I don't think it's very hard to win 3 years in a row. I don't
Yes.
care who's on your roster. I mean, obviously, very talented roster, but 3 years in a row is very. I mean, we see it. We saw it with the Chiefs, right? We saw,
Hmm.
other sports. So I don't really like to. I think the value might come later when it comes to like placing World Series odds. I look at stuff like I placed the win totals for Boston. I post they're over 87 and a half. I looked at the saves leader because obviously Emmanuel Clase, the last 3 out of the 4 years, he had the most in the AL, and he's not around anymore. So that kind of opens up the window for that. I know the Orioles, the Red Sox, and somebody else had the most one-run wins last season. So then I take a look at their closers, the odds for that. Because I know Edwin Diaz is up there. I don't
Hmm.
believe Edwin Diaz is going to get as many saves because he's playing for the Dodgers. They could put up 14, 14 runs in 2 games.
Hmm.
So I like to sprinkle a little bit where I find value in that. Like I said,
Yeah.
Class A is going to be gone. Kind of looking at some closers that would make sense for the most saves. Those are always fun for me. I can keep track of it all season. I know we talked about like Boston. I think Boston did get better even with the subtraction of Alex Bregman. I think Wilson Contreras is going to mash at Fenway. I think it's a good fit for him. So those were the two. I placed the Boston one, the Boston over 87.5 wins, and I started looking at the saves leaders yesterday.
Hmm.
But that's just where I'm at right now. I don't place like a ton of futures just because your money's tied up for like 7 months. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like, and the odds on that are, I'd rather just bet baseball every day. But those are the ones that I've been looking at like the over the last couple days.
Gotcha. And then so for the division, both of our teams right now, Yankees are favored in the AL East as of now. I think it's about plus 182 I'm looking at here. And then Philadelphia for the National League East, I think is at or oh no, sorry. They're right behind the Mets. So actually I'd like to get your opinion on that because we like to always talk a little smack about our little crosstown little brother, even though they're saying
Right.
we're little brother. So I don't know if you see the banter between Yankee fans and Mets fans. But what do you make of like your standing, I guess, in this talk about the odds of just like the Phillies in comparison to what the Mets are in that division? Like, what do you make of the Mets moves maybe, and like how does that relate to the Phillies?
I thought what the Mets did was interesting, right? It was like they just drafted talent. They're like, all right, we have 6 second basemen. We'll figure it out. Like we're
Hmm.
we're just gonna draft talent and we'll figure out positions. Oh, Jorge Polanco, you never played first. You're gonna play first. Oh, Marcus Semien. Okay. So they've made it. It was late in the offseason where they made a lot of moves. Obviously, Bo Bichette is going to be playing a new position. I don't know how that goes. I mean, obviously anybody can take his errors during spring training and post them with funny music. They go viral and everybody sees that. But playing in New York at a new position, um, I think it might be kind of a hard adjustment. If I'm being honest, we'll see how well he plays defensively. But I'm not sold on the Mets yet. They're unproven. I understand that they've had some additions. Juan Soto to me is a very much of a me guy. Just in my
Yes.
opinion, he's
No, I
very
agree.
much just all about me. I don't care about the team. I want my money and all that. And if that's your leader in the clubhouse, I mean, take it for what you will. But yeah, you didn't make the playoffs last year. You let the Reds sneak in. You gotta show me first. I don't really believe it. I know Atlanta was
They could be a bounce
bit with
back
the
team.
injury bug, man. They're always injured, and it continued to happen this offseason. I almost feel bad for them. I don't, but I think they're set up for a good bounce back spot. I do like their starting rotation. So we'll see. I'm not sold. I'm not really afraid of the Mets yet. I think they still got a lot to figure out and see how that infield does gel
Hmm.
defensively. And they got Jorge Polanco at one of his peaks. I don't know if that's who he is, if he's going to regress. Yeah, obviously you ship out Pete Alonso, so yeah, I
Tough when you
wouldn't, I
lose
wouldn't.
40 homers there. So
Right, exactly. So how is that going to get made up? It's not going to be made up by Jorge Polanco and Marcus Simeon.
yeah.
But I mean, we'll see. Again, the Phillies are essentially running back the same team, so I don't know.
We're both in
It's
the
all
same boat. We're both in the same boat. Running it
Yeah,
back,
it's
man.
all
Run it
about
back.
October, dude. And I have my gripes with the Phillies, but at the end of the day, they won the second most games in all of baseball last year, behind the Brewers. They're a very good club. Can you play when the lights are brightest? Alec Boehm, was quoted and said the lights were so bright, and I'm just like, Jesus, dude, like you are not
Take a
meant for
microphone
this state.
away from him.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm seeing ghosts. It's like, all right, you're done.
Maybe he'll be like
So
Sam
yeah, I mean,
Darnold,
we'll see.
win a Super Bowl a couple or win a
Exactly.
championship.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I'm confident. I love the club. They're built for the regular season. October, not so much. But yeah, I mean, it's always fun to hate on the Mets. And especially their fans too, dude. I'll be honest with you. Like Mets fans, like will talk a lot of shit to me, just because I do a lot of Phillies content. And I'm just like, oh, screw you guys. Like it's a lot more fun to hate you now.
Yeah, no, I mean for us it was the when Soto going over. I it was interesting how they first year over there and we were hearing from Soto that they had a better future and everything. First season there, he misses the playoffs. So
Mhm.
sad. Oh, you're so sad to see it. But Chef, appreciate you joining, man. I think it was a good conversation. Had a lot of good thoughts, and a lot. Hopefully, a lot of the Yankee listeners like to hear some outside perspectives and see what everything is, because sometimes you just got to take the lenses off and be able to see the whole league. And I think it's important too, ahead of the negotiations for next year, and we'll be having more conversation. But hopefully, we'll have to have you on throughout the season and and talk about. I think the Yankees definitely do play the Phillies. I think I'm probably going to go to that one down at Citizens Bank, so may have to link up for that, man.
I got you. Yeah. And I always like to say, Rob, like I'm a baseball fan first and foremost. So, like, whenever I make a video with my Phillies head on, they're like, oh, he's a Phillies fan. I'm like, I am a baseball fan before anything. Like,
Hmm.
I love this game. I have my teams that I like. I like the Phillies and I like the Cubs. That's pretty much it. But I love the game of baseball, period. I will watch a Rockies and A's game on a Thursday night because it's on.
Hmm.
So that's the thing. There are fans who are fans of one team and they don't watch the rest of baseball. We watch baseball. You know what I mean? Like we
Yeah.
love the game. We
Yeah,
love the
Yankee fans got a lot of those fans. I'm just gonna say,
yeah,
a lot of people.
yeah.
But that's it for episode 233. Make sure you guys go over to Sheffield Shuffler on Instagram. What's the at? Is that at Sheffield Shuff? That's what.
You
Okay.
got it on Instagram. Yeah, Sheffield Shuffler on Instagram. On Tik or on Twitter, it didn't have enough characters, so it's Sheffield Shuff. But
Sheffield Shuff
uh,
on X, and make sure you go over there, follow him on TikTok as well at Sheffield Shuffler, and then go subscribe to his YouTube channel. We'll be posting some of the clips, doing a little cross post there, and subscribe to the YouTube here. Follow us at Four Train Savages on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, as well as on X at Four Savages. Appreciate everyone for listening. Spring training games are starting today, and we'll have some more topics to talk about. Hopefully, no one gets injured. That's all I'm hoping for. All right. We'll catch you next time. Peace.